Why should you film your sets? I'm gonna tell you exactly why. I know it's a really popular thing on both sides of the coin of, do you film or do you not film in the gym? Is it a place where you should put your phone away and work, or should you get your camera out? Now, sadly, I fall on both sides again, because right here, I'm filming in a gym. When Chaz isn't with me, I prop my phone up and I film my sets, not only for myself, but for Instagram, because that's how I make money and I make a living. So instinctually, the hardcore meathead in me wants to say, kick those tripods over, which we're actually using right now, and get out of my way. But to me, filming in the gym has its place, and here's why. It's game film, and if you take lifting and progressing seriously, to me it's huge to be able to look back and watch your hard sets in action, live, and to be able to take all the emotion away from it. Because when I do a hard set, in my mind I have a thought or a memory of what it was like. And it doesn't always match what I see on film when I watch it back. So, a great example. I'll do a set and I'll look at Chaz and I'm like, man, that thing was hard. He goes, well, it didn't look that way. And that's really frustrating, because for me in the muscle, it was super challenging. But for him, the spectator, he's like, you crushed 13, 14 reps with that. And it looked like it was effortless, but that doesn't mean it didn't feel that way. So what we have to really take into consideration, to me, number one and foremost, is I come from a sports background, and that's reviewing game film. And in order to make sure your form is perfect, that's how we have to do it. So to me, that's the number one thing, game film and form check. And even to this day, at 20 years deep into lifting, I want to watch my form and make sure it's spot on and I'm hitting the target muscle. Another cool little adage that I always like to say, and I know I've posted this on Instagram, is if someone who had no intelligence or education in lifting watched me train without a shirt or shorts on, if I did an exercise, I'd want them to point to the muscle that's working. And that's solely based on watching the muscle move and work in space, right? So the amount of times I've done this with clients where I've said, hey, film you doing reverse pec deck with a tank top on. Like, okay, cool. And I have them watch it back. I'm like, hey, watch this. What do you think's working? Well, Chris, my rear delts are working. I know that's what you're trying to work, but what is working? And you watch their traps, their mid traps, their low trap, all light up. Their rhomboids popping. Terry's major minor firing like crazy. Rear delts, maybe 3 out of 10. And I'm like, watch that back. You tell me what's working by watching your body move through space. And like, huh, you're right. Well, you only know that by watching it back and taking the emotion away from it. So, to me, that's number one and number two. So, game film and form check. Next up, I want to know what my range of motion looks like. I want to know if my intensity is high enough. And I want to know if I'm taking a set to failure. So, all three of those fall within 3. So, if I'm assessing my range of motion on, say, a leg press or a hack squat or a dumbbell chest press, I want to see, am I getting as deep as it feels? Because again, there's been sets where I've picked up the 140, 150 pound dumbbells and I was like, man, I had to be a centimeter away from my chest. And it was more like 2 or 3 inches. So I know there's more room to work in there, to work on getting lower. So instead of bumping up in weight next week or trying to bump up in reps, what I want to think about is, okay, I want to get lower. And the only way I find out if I'm going to go lower is if I film that second session of me doing it. And then I put it side by side and transpose it. Am I truly getting deeper? If so, heck yeah. Then I can start my progressions. So let's say I did full range of motion for 7.5 reps. Excellent. Next week I need to get 8 plus, or 8 or more, however you want to look at that, with the deeper range of motion on, say, a dumbbell incline chest press. So again, form and range of motion tie hand in hand. Next up, intensity. What does it look like? Does it look like I'm just smoking through reps and it's not hard? Can I slow down the negative? Can I pause in the hold? Can I remove the stretch reflex? All of those things are going to play a factor in how great I'm truly exercising or training a body part. So if I'm going to say, speak about a hack squat, what does the negative look like? Am I dive bombing in the hole? Am I controlling it? Am I pausing in the hole? Am I using a ton of momentum to go negative to positive? And if you guys know and follow this channel, you know that I'm not into that whatsoever. Same thing with, say, like a lying leg curl. Am I bouncing off the stops? Am I jerking out of the hole? Am I going full range of motion? Am I getting all the way as high as I can? All of those things are, again, addressing intensity and range of motion. So, film your sets. It's the only way you'll know it, because you in your mind may think, man, I could not get an ounce of more range of motion in, say, a hack squat, but your hamstrings are nowhere near sitting on your calves. So what does that say to me? Get lower, because you're missing out on quad growth by not doing that. And then lastly, of this point, failure. The amount of times I see people say, oh, here's a set of failure, and it's not, is laughable. Failure means you cannot move the weight one more singular inch. And you don't find that out by completing a rep and then racking it. Because if you completed the rep, you could still go down again. So, little fun fact there. If you're doing a hack squat, a leg press, and you say you hit failure, but you racked it after you stood up one whole time, it's not failure. Watch this set of true squat that Chaz will post, where I literally can't get off the sled and I bottom out. That's what failure looks like. Or if you're doing dumbbell press and you're pressing, and you have to throw the dumbbells down because they won't move, or you're gonna eat it. Another valid way to test failure. So again, accountability to failure is another option for me that I will know when I watch it back one film. All right, I kind of already touched on this point with reference for future lifts, but what I'm really thinking about for this is I'm able to have essentially a running scrapbook, so to speak, that kind of dates me of all my lifts. So I can go back on Instagram as early as I think 2015 and watch myself lift weights. So the cool thing about that is I can compare my form then versus now. I can compare my size then versus now. The control I have over the weights. Because I'll share a fun fact with you. In 2015, I was probably as strong as I am now, but the reps don't look the same. I have much more control over them, and I am much larger than I was then. So, again, I have like a running log or a log book. I know all you guys are obsessed with log books and writing them. It's cool you can see your reps on paper. I did 14 reps of 315 on incline barbell. Awesome. What do those reps look like? You don't know unless you film it. So you're able to go back and look and like, man, like I was really ripping through those sets. Or, man, I could really tighten up that form. Or look how much I've progressed with my execution of a lift. So to me, like a running scrapbook or a history or a logbook is the way I look at this too. Like it's gonna be really cool to me when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old that Chaz and I will be able to look back on these videos and be like, man, this is a cool time in life. Like, I remember being able to just crush weights and be 260 pounds and moving weight like I had no business moving. That'll be cool, right? Be able to show our kids. Like, hey, look at this cool project. We essentially, this YouTube channel, created like the largest school project ever, right? It's gonna be really cool to look back at that after a decade of this and be like, look where we started, look where we are now, and look where we're going, right? So, kind of a scrapbook is how I look at this. Like, do it with Instagram, do it with your camera roll, whatever. You don't have to post it on the internet like I do. But you can go back and scroll through your phone and be like, oh man, like look at this lift. I have lifts on my phone from 2007. And it's cool to see how small it was and how much I've progressed since then. So that's something to me that I always think about. And then point number 5 here, looking cool on the internet. I laugh because I think I said in one of my podcasts with Dave, was like, I don't understand why you want to be jacked and strong as fuck as an adult male. And I've always kind of felt that way. Like, I remember being a kid and seeing all the football players I looked up to, or any of the times I like walk by a Muscle magazine in the grocery store and think, man, like it would be really cool to look like one of those guys and be able to lift like that. And now that I have that ability, like I want to post it and share it with people and say like, hey, look where I used to be, look where I am now. Like it can happen. It just takes a long time of effort and consistency. And you know, I will always cherish the days of sitting back and throwing 150-pound dumbbells around or 140s like it were freaking cake. One of the things I really regret as an adult is when I went and trained with John is not having all those sessions on camera. Like, I'm really fortunate for the ones that know what called on film, but I really wish that I'd had a chance to come to Ohio with me and film every workout we ever did together. And that way I can look back on it and be like, man, like, such great fond memories. Now, are they etched into my brain? Yes, but eventually those memories will slowly fade, and I hope not, but you know, it'd be a lot different if we could like pull it up on video and be like, oh man, like I remember that session, and just go back in that moment for 10 to 15, 20 minutes and relive that time with him. I think that a lot about a lot of my early squatting and deadlifting, like I wish some of those sessions were on film because I can't do that anymore. And you know, having 5 plates on my back and cruising reps, like I'd love to watch those sets again. There was a cool Thanksgiving workout that John had me do where it was work up to 365 and do as many reps as I could, and I got 24.5 reps before bottoming out. Like that was, I still remember that pain and how awful it was of doing that, because that came after 315 for 20. So I would love to have that on film and to be able to share it with you and embed it in this video, but sadly it's a distant memory. So, you know, I can't stress enough to all you guys that live in this era of technology, like get it on camera, film it. Don't be scared to set your phone up. Now, the only caveat is that don't be a fucking asshole. Like, don't take it to the gym or think you're some kind of privileged fuck. Like, Your workout is no more important than mine if I'm filming or not. And Chaz and I do an exceptional job of, if other people are in this gym, they don't cater to our needs. We are in their way. So we stay out of their way. We do our best to not get other people in the background. I'm not saying we're perfect at that, but we do it. He does make a concerted effort not to get people in here because this is my channel and they might not want to be filmed. So be really intelligent. If you see somebody in the background of your video doing something that's not good form or you consider a joke, don't make fun of them. Don't. Blur it out. And then maybe you'll have a conversation with like, hey man, like, you know, doing curls that way doesn't work your biceps. Can I show you how to make it better? Don't be a prick. Don't post it on the internet and make fun of them. Like, those are the dirt bags that make me look bad. I would never do that. And it's so cringy to me when I have clients or friends that send me people in the gym training and making fun of them. I'm like, please God, like, don't do that. They're in there trying to get better. I'm sure when I was young, I used to do stupid shit in the gym too. But the difference is, back then, the big guys would have came up to me, put their arm around me, and be like, hey Chris, stop it, you're a moron. Fix it, do this. Hey, you don't deserve it to have a tank top on. Go put your t-shirt on. When you are big enough to have a tank top on, you won't want to wear one. And they're right. Hey Chris, you need to eat more food, you're too small. Thanks man, I appreciate it. That's the difference between now generation and then. Then, they just confront the guy face to face. Now it's like, oh, let's just make fun of them on the internet behind their back. Like a coward. Oh, side rant. Let's get back to one topic. Film your sets, film them regularly, and I promise it will make your progression and memory of your lifts that much better. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, CribNess TV.